And we are live. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Alex Pettit and I talk everything tech, mainly broadcast tech. And today's broadcast, I'm actually joined by a guest. Before I get into that, I just want to also apologize if there's a little bit of fan noise behind. My MacBook Pro has just decided to boot up every fan available, and so it's a bit noisy in the background. But I'm joined today from Singular, who I talked about, I think it was 3 videos ago now, Singular, the graphics package, joined by Stephen Heimbold. How you doing, Stephen?
Good. Thanks for having me, Alex. Good to hear you. I can't hear that fan at all.
Okay, good.
It sounds great on my end. But thanks for having me. Good to see you.
No, it's really good to have you. I've known Stephen, well, ever since I started using Singular, really. You've been helping me out, showing me what it can do. And the main reason that I wanted to get you on today's show, Stephen, was because I know after I released the video 3 weeks ago, there was quite a lot of questions that people put in the comments about Singular, what it can do, can't do, how it can integrate with different services and can pull data and things like that. So I thought you would be the man to get on to answer some of those questions.
Well, definitely, yeah. And we got quite a response from that video. So thanks again for that. And a lot of users were asking us questions on our support channel. So there's a number of things we can dive into. And I guess I would say, admittedly, when you log into our platform, you sign up, you go to Singular and you Singular Live, you set up for an account, you get your confirmation email, and then you get dumped into our dashboard. And from that point into actually getting some output, some really beautiful looking overlays for your streams, it's a little bit of a tough journey because our user guided experience from that point to the end is admittedly not our strong point at the moment. We're definitely going to be improving that. So we can certainly touch on those things and how to get people up and running with sort of pre-done graphics packages, templates or themes of overlays in our marketplace, as well as diving into at least at the basic level on Composer, which is an incredibly powerful tool for building your own custom overlays. So yeah,
Yeah,
we can dive
exactly.
in at any point.
So we've already got a few people in the chat saying hello. We've got Mike watching from Suffolk. We've got Tim watching from sunny Derbyshire, apparently. And we got Brian watching in Germany. Hello to you guys. So I guess where we'll maybe start, if you guys have got any questions as you're coming in, put them into the live chat. But I want to reference some of the questions that we got on the actual Singular video that I released. So Stephen, if that's cool at you, I'm going to fire some of those questions straight away.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the first one we had, and was probably the most popular question, came in from Ella. It said, I'd love to know how to set up Singular with comments and names being automatically pulled from YouTube so that you don't have to type up each comment before posting. Is that possible? Is it something you guys have done before? Is it something you're working on?
It definitely is possible, and we've gotten some requests on that as well. I will tell you that there's one widget that we wrote for a Twitch chat, which will it's pretty basic. You put it into your Singular composition, you put in your Twitch name, and the entirety of the chat window will be displayed as an overlay that you can position and put where you want on the screen. But that doesn't quite answer the question at hand. Clearly, we can get to the API of the YouTube chat channel, and with that, we will be able to, sort of find some sort of a nice, elegant way of having the ability to pick and choose which of those chat comments that you want to put into an overlay. So it's not something that we have off the shelf that's ready to go. It's definitely something we can do. I would say it is in our development roadmap because we have gotten a lot of interest in it. But I think the daunting part for us is more on the logistics. If you have a very high volume of comments coming in, how do you traffic those? How do you pick out the right ones? Alex had a good point earlier when we were chatting this morning about maybe dropping them into something like a Google Sheet and be able to organize them there and then pick and choose. And then from the Google Sheet, traffic them over or send them over, push them over to a Singular composition. So a long-winded answer, definitely doable. It's something that our R&D guys are acutely aware of, I'll say. A lot of interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's hard to pull them from the YouTube API. As you said, Stephen, it's more about if you have so many comments coming out within a short time frame, how do you manage those comments so that you're only putting the ones that you want the viewer to see on the screen, and a sort of mechanism and format for being able to filter out through the comments that you don't want and the comments that you do want.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's something you guys have done for Twitch before, but are working on them.
Yeah, we have that widget for Twitch. Actually, I was playing around with this morning. I hadn't used it in a while, but it's pretty straightforward. That one is simply to display the Twitch comments. So you can then put the username in and display the graphic, the comments window as an overlay and sort of position it where you want it in the screen. So I think it was just a test on our guys to see how it would behave, and it works. It's quite straightforward. So but I am
Cool.
intrigued by this one. I am intrigued by the how to best traffic the comments in a high volume situation. I think if it's just a handful of comments, obviously that's pretty straightforward. So
So I realize there's probably some people that are watching this live stream right now that didn't or haven't seen the video on Singular. So maybe give us a roundup what Singular is, what it does, but also like we're seeing it in use right now on your camera feed. So
yeah,
maybe talk us through some of the bits that you've got there before we go into a more bigger demo.
yes, absolutely. You're seeing overlays that were designed and built in Singular in my video right now, and that's using a virtual camera. Pretty straightforward. I'm using OBS to. I downloaded the OBS add-on and then simply added Singular's output URL into the OBS, and away you go. So that's pretty straightforward and getting quite a bit of use. I've gotten a lot of response. I do a lot of presentations online and across, the usual suspects, Zoom and Hangouts and Slack and what have you. Gosh, I think in one week I used 9 different video conferencing softwares, which was a record for me. And then all of those, as long as they support, you can just pick up your virtual camera. You can have Singular overlays. So that's pretty straightforward. And getting, like I said, getting a lot of use. I believe we put out a couple of marketplace themes that you can download that are sort of, I'll call them web conferencing friendly. The sort of the usual suspects that I'm doing here: a ticker, maybe an ID showing, who the presenter is, date and time, that type of thing. So, but Singular, coming back to the bigger question at hand, what is Singular? Singular is a platform. It's a complete cloud-based platform for building overlays. So you have the 3 major components of that are custom building overlays from nothing, from a user interface, from within our dashboard. You create a composition. Then you have the control side, which is the second piece of the equation. Once you're done with the compositions, you import them into a control application, get a rundown of your overlays. And the third one is really what do you do with the output URL? So we have a whole section in our tutorials about, okay, so where do you take those overlays? We bring them into OBS, we bring them into vMix, we bring them into XYZ. We have the output side is quite varied for us. It's not just streaming. We have customers that use it for sort of monitor wall displays and that type of thing. So it's quite varied user base for us. In fact, more and more so each day, which is exciting. I mean, it's HTML graphics going out in a variety of different formats. So
Yeah, and you mentioned there OBS because you're using OBS right now. One of the questions that we did actually have on the last video, who was that from? Marco said, could you please show us how to get the Singular output URL so that I can use it in my graphics in OBS? Because obviously in my video, I demonstrated how to bring it into something like an A10 Mini or an A10 Mini Pro, but it can be used across anything. It can be used across OBS, Wirecast, vMix, pretty much anything that accepts a browser source, right?
exactly. So in OBS, it's on the Singular side of things. We certainly, if you'd like, Alex, we could jump over to the desktop.
Yeah.
I could show you. So here I am in the Singular dashboard. And after you've logged in, after you create an account in Singular, you get your confirmation email, you confirm, you log in, you're going to be dropped into the dashboard. There is a dialog that pops up, and there's some nice beginner tutorials, but like anybody else, myself included, you might just cancel that, and then you're left in this dashboard. So again, admittedly, the journey from here to getting some output into OBS or any, like Alex mentioned, any of these pieces of software solutions that take a browser source it's a little daunting. So just very quickly from the dashboard here, I have a directory that I created here, a folder here called demos, new folder. And in there, a lot of users I recommend, just to kind of get your feet wet, is just go to the marketplace. So under new Singular Marketplace, you're going to pick from a theme. I was doing a demo last week. I think I was using Air. You'll download that. It's free. It'll show up in a directory, into that directory, into the folder that you selected. So in demos, I've got air. You open up that now you've got your composition. The composition, if you open this up, you're going to see all the bits and pieces of this graphics package. And this one, I believe, is quite large. There's quite a number of overlays. Actually, this one's actually pretty, not too overwhelming. I'll go ahead and take all of these out. Rather than do a deep dive into Composer, I'm going to jump back over to the dashboard because you can see all browser based. It opened up another tab. I'll just take this composition. I'm going to right click and open with, and I'm going to use Singular Studio. All accounts get these two control apps. Spark, a little more basic, entry level. I recommend Studio. It's one that we're actively developing new versions all the time. So Studio, simply name it. I'll just call this Studio One. And you'll be into your Studio Rundown. So again, when you first come in, the place you want to start is the blue dot, the blue plus, pretty obvious. You basically go here to add overlays. These are the overlays that are located in that package, that theme that I just downloaded. So for example, if I take in this one, it's got a lower matchup and maybe an upper right, just a couple. So if I click here, you get it in preview. This particular package is built for sports, probably football if I had to guess. So if you click here, you're going to get it in program. Same thing here, you're going to get the graphic in program. So to get that now, long-winded, to get this over to OBS, you simply go to share, and here's your output URL. So you're just going to copy this, and it's going to go as a browser, as Alex mentioned, it's going to go as a browser source inside of OBS, and that's it. You're ready to go. That's sort of the
It's really that simple.
That's the quick way to kind of get your feet wet. Go to the marketplace, grab a theme, get it into Studio, and away you go. And again, there's a number of really good, probably the best place if you get the support channel here. If you do a search on beginner, I had one cup of coffee this morning. Begin. You're gonna get the beginner.
And it's early for you, as right?
It's a little early. It's beginner's guide. Apologize for that. So if you search on beginner's guide, this is a wealth of information behind the support channel, and our support team. Big shout out to Catherine, who really champions this. She is just a rock star getting this stuff done with a lot of help from Thomas and our R&D guys. Basically, you go to beginner's guide and you can go through a step-by-step of some of the pieces that you might miss in this video. Again, this stream with Alex is sort of an overview. We're taking some questions from users. So, but this is your spot to go, including leaving us comments. You can leave messages. You can go here, and if you're confused, please pound away. Let us have it. We check this all the time, from everyone from R&D to the support, people building compositions, control applications, custom stuff. So it's quite deep in the on the support side.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning those compositions that are already pre-made in Marketplace. They're free, right?
Those are all free, exactly. And they're of varying degrees of complexity. We're constantly updating them. There's a number of them that we've had there for quite some time. So we're adapting them and changing them and adding new features perhaps that we've done with the platform. So yeah, they're all free. Have at them, and the entire platform is free. It's free with a watermark, and the pricing is there for if you get into a pro or enterprise level.
Yeah, and I think that's because I'm just looking at the comments now that are coming in. Tim and Mike say the same thing off the back of the video, and it's worth mentioning. So they ask, or they say, I guess the main issue for creators in terms of online creators like myself is the cost of the service. It would be great to have something between free and pro, because in Tim's case, he can't justify the $100 per month, which is the pro account cost. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is, what do you get on the free? What do you get on the pro? And also maybe throwing you in at the deep end, because we didn't talk about this before, but have you guys thought about doing something for creators somewhere in the middle?
We have lots of discussions about that, a lot of back and forth. If we jump over to the website, the Singular website, and I go over to pricing, this is not something I am involved in. I have to be honest with you. I am on a
That's why I said it for you in the deep end.
It's okay.
I know it's not necessarily your thing.
It's fine, and I do realize and can appreciate there's quite a jump between free and pro. Yeah. We have discussed a more subscription friendly, I'll call it, offering that maybe is something in between free and pro. So as it stands right now, this is our tiers. That might change. I'm not. I'm involved with those discussions, so it has been something that has come up because we do have that sort of pro level where it's okay, $100 a month. That might be more than I can
Can
bear.
you switch to them, Stephen? Because we're seeing you at the
Oh,
moment.
I apologize. I did not switch over to
There you go.
jump over to. There we are. Here. Um,
Great.
yeah, so this is located under platform. There's a pricing where I've navigated to from the main website. So yes, we have had discussions on that. Stay tuned. This might, the different feature sets could change. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, so with the free account, you get all the functionality the same as before, all of the stuff in the marketplace and everything like that, except it's a watermark. And I only found this out today, but apparently you can move the watermark around, right?
yes, you can relocate the watermark, so we tried to make that a little bit more friendly. Yes, but all of the feature set in the free account is there. So if you have some more advanced users that want to take a look at our API, we have a full API as an SDK for controlling Singular outside of our control apps, and we have a number of integrator partners, streamers that have some programming chops that really want to get the full access to Singular compositions and controlling them externally. So that's all available in the free account. So um, it's quite a deep platform, I will say.
And one question that we're being asked, Alvin in the chat says, can you actually show them watermark? Because they are not sure what it looks like and how maybe intrusive it is on their live stream. So if they were to sign up to the Pro account, and it's probably worth mentioning at this point while you get that up, Stephen, is that we are giving you. So when I did the video, I actually contacted Singular and said, I want to do this video on you guys. Is there anything that we can do for my viewers? And they came back and said, we've never done this before, but we'll give your viewers 1 month free of the Pro account if they use a promo code so that we know it's come from you. So if you want to try all of the Pro features out, just use promo code Alex1 when you sign up on Singular. That will give you 1 month free. So you can have it without the watermark, see what it's like. And if you like it, great, you can continue using it. If not, at the end of the month, I believe the watermark just gets added on basically.
Yes, absolutely. And the account that I'm demoing today, and I think if you're back over to my output here, it's the watermark's going to show up right here. Unfortunately, I have mine turned off, so it's a small Singular.live down here, and like you said, we can that can be positioned on the screen. But yes, it's free, like you said, with the promo code. So take full advantage of that, and we got really great response on that. And to see if people, first get yourself familiar with the platform, say, is this something of value? Is this something I could use and enhance your live stream? So yeah, the 1 month free has been very very well received, and again, we'll
Glad
have
to
to
hear
kind of
it.
listen to we're going to listen to our users really and kind of find the right structure that makes sense for them. So if the pricing doesn't quite fit it's challenging because, as you can imagine, our platform is everything from beginner users all the way up to some really high end broadcasters that we deal with directly. So
Yeah, and I think that's worth noticing and might lead us quite nicely onto the next part. But even when I discovered you guys, you were almost exclusively just for broadcasters, and we're talking about traditional TV linear broadcasters. But you guys were doing it in a completely different way from the last 50 years with things like VizRT and things like that. And I know we're getting a bit down a rabbit hole, but one of the reasons I loved what you guys were doing is because it was all in the cloud. And multiple people can be working on it at once from anywhere, and especially in the world that we're in today with the situation that we're in, that's why it makes so much sense to have a piece of software like this.
Alex, it's interesting. It's a very interesting discussion. And what happened in the advent of we were marching along with Singular, doing quite well, and a lot of our higher end broadcast customers that are using a variety of desktop solutions, very powerful, great solutions for high volume outputs of graphic overlays in a studio productions, even live, and those fit the bill great for certain things. But as soon as you start getting you want scalability, or if you get into a situation like we've had with this virus, I mean, all of a sudden everything's displaced and people have to work remotely, and the demand that we got from Singular was, I don't know, I want to say, I think I was talking with Mike this was last week. I think it was like 4 or 5 times the demand that came in on us because it's a cloud-based solution. And I will tell you, to those broadcast situations, high-end broadcasters that have very, you know, custom bespoke designs. We have a number of customers that came to us, customers we've had for many years on the broadcast side of our business that have said, can you make a comparable suite of graphics that work that match our traditional outputs from the bigger desktop offerings, and that's exactly what we did, and it's been very, very well received. I can't imagine a world in which where we go back the other direction
Oh no.
when this I think this has been, if there is one positive of this whole virus, I think the the cloud-based sort of acceptance, and not just acceptance. We've all had the cloud and using it, but now I think people's skill sets, including my own, and you really sit down in front of a browser now and do so much more, so much quicker, and it just becomes second nature. So the that's exciting for us. It's turning a kind of a tough situation into somewhat of a positive for cloud solutions.
Yeah, certainly for the way that technology has been driven forward. I think a lot of people have been tentative to take, as you say, the jump into things like clouds and more technically advanced systems, but now we've been forced to because of the position that we're in. I know we're doing a lot of talking, and there's people in the chat that actually want to see Singular.
Exactly.
They want to see demos, so I don't want to hold back anymore. So I'm going to kind of like fire it over to you.
Yeah.
It's up to you what you want to show, Stephen, whether you want to do something more in terms of, because I know I put out a video on my channel this week, which was around video calling apps. And so Stephen, as you can see here, he's basically demonstrating that you can have graphics on your Zooms or on your Skypes or things like that. But yeah, Stephen, over to you. Feel free to demo the power of Singular.
You know what? That's a perfect segue into this because we can probably kill two birds with one stone. We can jump over to my screen. And let me just jump into the graphics that you're seeing that I am actually overlaying on this stream today.
Mm-hmm.
So I have just a small list of graphs. You can see my name here. Actually, let me go ahead and take all these overlays out. So if I start with this one here, this one came in from a list of graphics. So I had a lower third. I brought it in the list. And when I actually, let's, you know what, let's start from, I'm going to come over here and delete all pages. Let's start from nothing. Let's go here and we'll add a lower third.
And when so this is basically what people will see when they join up to Singular and go to create a control app.
Exactly. So what this is, you're looking at Singular Studio, and just so we have our bearings, so everyone knows where we are in terms of the platform as a whole. What I'm looking at here is Singular Studio, and how I got here is how you will get here, or how I got here is I downloaded a composition from the Singular Marketplace earlier. And I generated from that, I went right-clicked and I opened it up with Open with Studio. And when you're in Studio, this is what you're going to be, into a rundown software that is scalable. You can go back to your dashboard. You can duplicate this Studio application instance as many times as you want. And the graphics that were imported from the composition that we downloaded are listed here. Now, in this case, this is not a marketplace theme. This is one I do for general demos, but we have a number of really nice ones that have been uploaded for this purpose. So let's just show you a few of the features of Singular Studio, and then we can jump into the composition and show you sort of the under the hood of these overlays. So in this case, I have a lower third. I can sit here, I can duplicate it, and if we call this one Stephen, and you'll see if I take this graphic to program, I can name it in the list, and this is where the fill-in forms show up. So if I call this Jeff Heimbold, my brother, and if I hit update, it's going to update here in program. Now the output of this, right, is going to show up here under share, and you're going to get an output URL that you're going to put as a browser source into any number of streaming software. So that's really the sort of workflow. You have preview here. Again, I can bring in another graphic. If we bring in, say, a ticker, if we bring in, I have some more elaborate lower thirds like this one. Clicking it here, it'll show up in preview. You can change the fill-in form, so you can say hello instead of Singular. And then if I want to commit to this graphic, take it to the output, I can click here.
Now, one of the things that we just saw there, well, firstly, is to mention like the animation that you're seeing, the way it animates on and off the screen is all customizable and things like that. But one of the really interesting things there, you already had a graphic on the screen. Mm-hmm. And then when you brought in the new graphic, it knew to take that graphic off the screen and bring in the new one. How does that work?
That's a really one of the really powerful features of Singular. So if I go back and I name this appropriately, let's call this one Steven. Got a little typo in there, my own name. Still, I need another cup of coffee.
I
And
still struggle with that.
well, no, I think for me it's the coffee. I need another cup of coffee. So in any event, so if I'm going back and forth between these two lower third graphics, I have a simple ID with my name, and you can see the fill-in forms that show up here down at the bottom. I've got the only things that were exposed in terms of the fill-in forms for this particular graphic was the width, and you can see I can dynamically change the width. I exposed that when I made the composition, and when I hit update, it's gonna reflect in the program output. So I've also got the ability to turn on and off that lower line. And again, where these parameters are getting built are in the composition themselves. When you get to this,
Yeah.
when you're in Studio, you're just dealing with the fill-in forms that you created in Studio, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, back to your point of this auto animating, when this one comes in and this one, the simple ID comes in, and then I transition to this more elaborate lower third back and forth. The logic for that, if we jump back over to the dashboard for a moment, this actual composition is here. It's called basic news. You know, this might be a good candidate just to put right into the marketplace, so users that are watching this can download this exact composition. It's probably not a bad idea. So I opened this. It's open. It's already opened in another browser tab. So now what you're looking at is the actual composition itself. This is where I built the graphics. So to take a look at that logic layer, the logic between those two graphics that you were seeing earlier, I've got a navigator up here in the upper left-hand corner. So you're looking at the UI, the Composer UI, and here I've got my, let's take this full screen here, maybe a little bit easier to see. These are the list of overlays, and they're all in their own dedicated, what we refer to as sub-compositions. Any users out there that might be familiar with After Effects, think of it as like a pre-comp in After Effects. So we put each individual graphic into their own sub-composition. That happens here, new sub-composition. If we go look at this lower third, for example, I'll sort of turn it on and off. You can see if I go into it, here's the bits and pieces. I've got the title section at the top and the base at the bottom. But back to now coming full circle. So to Alex's question, so the lower third here, it's assigned in logic layers in the composition navigator that I brought up right here. We've got this lower third. Now, the other one that you saw was this one, nope, not that one, I'm sorry, this guy, the news lower third. They're both assigned to the same logic layer. So I can make as many, if we change the name of this to L3, short for lower third, and then now they can be on at the same time. But if I go ahead and change this one to lower third, now you've got that logic. So it's basic state logic. We're not allowing you to have these two graphics up at the same time.
And that helps sort of basically avoid clashing graphics on screen.
Oh, yeah.
While you're in the Composer, would you, just because I'm seeing a couple more comments saying, so here we got Tim says, it does look like AE or motion. Mike says, where would the watermark appear? Are you able to show it? In Composer, can you show it? Is there a button at the top?
You know what? I've never been asked that question actually.
So up at the, and this is great, I'm getting to tutor you. Up in the top bar,
yep,
just above the preview, there's the small singular logo on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side. No, in the middle of the screen. This is brilliant. I love this. You just, yep, three along. I think it was where you were. No, 3 along. That's it. That one. I think that. There we go.
Do you know what? I've got to thank you for showing me this. I've never. Well, for me, I'm doing professional demos all the time, and I've never actually. The R&D guys are going to go. You don't even look at the user interface. What are you doing? So there it is. There's the beautiful watermark.
So yeah, I'm used to turning that on and off to see what the composition is going to look like if I use a free account or suggest a free account to a client or anything like that. So that is what the logo is going to look like. You can see it's pretty small, and yeah, now you can see it.
Absolutely. So thank you for a shout out to one of your users who commented on that. That I have to laugh. I want to go back to this logic layer thing for
Sure.
a moment, because a while back when the R&D guys put this in, Andrew had a great comment, and he said, let's add a little bit of a delay between the transitions, and that's what you see over here. So like right now, this little button here, it's set to custom. If it was set to none, for example, on these two, as long as I'm here, we'll go into it. So you're going to see a little bit more of a collision between those two graphics, like an overlap. But the nice little custom, you can delay here, and I've got a point 0.5, half a second delay. So now you're going to get a much more, it's going to allow that beat so the overlay comes out before the next one comes in.
And now you've just taught me something I never knew in Singular.
Again, it's a platform. It's deep. It's really got
There's
some
so
amazing.
much.
Oh, there really is. It's I could I could go on like this particular package. I'm just when I went up to the top layer of the composition tree, I'm looking at the primary and secondary colors. So all of these attributes are connected globally. So, for example, if you wanted to have a graphics package where you could quickly change, I don't think I have a color in the ticker. So yeah, here's a panel graphic in here, and if we bring up a bug, so these attributes, when you put control nodes at the top level of the composition tree, you generate control nodes here, and then you connect them to the various elements, the various overlays that you're building. You have global control over them. So, for example, if I start changing this to blue, my entire package changes.
Wow. So that's really useful if you've got, let's say, multiple shows which have a slight design or color change.
Exactly.
That means that you can change all of your graphics pretty quickly with those global color changes.
Yes, and I know that Catherine took the time to go through our marketplace compositions, and I believe she was able to, and that was a daunting amount of work. She added the primary and secondary, what we call global controls. And again, if I jump over to Studio here for a moment, this composition has them in here. So global data here, it shows up as an element. I got to be honest with you, it's a little confusing. It's a little odd to have a global parameter. This really should be probably a cogwheel in the user interface. But when we added this, it was a very nice, elegant way for us from a programmatic standpoint to really knock this out quickly. We had a big demand for this. So if we bring in maybe this lower third, and let's bring in another graphic real quick. Let's bring in a right panel, and maybe where's that upper right time? Now we'll have a couple of graphics in at the same time. So again, these global parameters show up in global data. It's in the in state. And now if I start changing these graphics, it's going to in real time change the color. Again,
That's
if you
nice.
get the better you get at building compositions, it doesn't have to be just color. You could have like a nice gradient effect on top of it and toggle that on and off. There's a number of things you can do from the global data level.
Yeah, kind of the world's your oyster in terms of customizing the look and the graphics. And as I think you mentioned a little bit before, the marketplace is probably everyone's first stop for wanting to get their hands straight in without having to build their own. So you can just pull one for free from, as we're seeing on the screen here as Stephen scrolls through. These are all available for you to play around with for free and get used to Singular. Then you can start your own composition and build your own graphics and make it as complex or as simple as you like.
And yeah, it's involved. Like you said, I mean, it goes down many rabbit holes. You'll see in here interactive examples, Google Sheet widget examples, as you can imagine. Since we're HTML, there isn't a whole interactive component. Certainly not for this stream, but
maybe because there's so much that can be done with Singular, but I don't want to go over everything. Maybe let's mention or show the Google Sheet sort of stuff, because that starts to explain the idea of data integration and things updating in real time and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's
because it's so cool.
Yeah, let's go ahead and close a few of these tabs. And thanks for mentioning that too. And I will tell you that I coming very soon, so keep an eye out for your newsletters from Singular and on the social channels. We're going to be doing a three-part. I'd like to do a two or three-part series on Singular Composer, and in Singular Composer, because it is so powerful, I'm going to do a deep dive into Composer and take questions, and those will go. Probably do an hour piece, maybe longer, depending on how much feedback we get and how many rabbit holes we want to go down. But I think that's a good one, Alex, to dive into. It's the RSS. I had actually, you know what? Let me bring it up right now. Here we go.
That's nice. I was going to say, before you actually switch your camera back to your screen, there is a question in the chat that I just wanted think is a good question to ask. We had this from Funistream. Says, do you think I can use a Mac Mini or an i7 MacBook Pro to run Singular and ATEM Control together? I can't afford two computers at the same time. I guess simplifying that question, Stephen, is like, can everything be run on one computer at the same time? Can you have the Singular control app, the Singular output running, let's say, in OBS or in another Chrome window for the ATEM Mini? Is it going to overpower?
The question, you and I were chatting about this earlier, and I think what I did here is I just jumped over. Today I'm on the PC, I'm on the Mac as well. Equally, I'm back and forth between both of them. I will say, generally speaking, in terms of authoring, we're in Chrome. It's not that we don't support the other browsers, we certainly do, but most of the time, most of our testing, most of our customers are using Chrome. Back to the question at hand, which is in terms of performance. As you can see here, I've got a number of tabs going on here in the browsers. Some of these widgets that you see in the background, like this RSS link, that's actually pulling data from a Google Sheet. There's a lot going on here, and I'm sitting at
Mm.
probably a third of the CPU.
And it's worth pointing out as well that you're actually
40%.
also sending your feed to me via Google Chrome. So that is sending a webcam feed and the screen as well
Yeah.
via Google Chrome. So that's probably taking quite a bit.
Absolutely, and I would say it's kind of trial and error. You need to test. Like we have some of our higher end users are using like vMix, and they want to isolate their graphic overlays, their lower thirds, and their over the shoulders or panels and tickers into different output URLs, different outputs of Studio, and most of them they get into 2 and even 3 um, output URLs, so they can really isolate the graphics. That it just depends on your CPU, what you're working with. So
Cool.
you got to keep an eye on.
Sorry, I totally interrupted your
No, that's fine.
demonstration about the ticker graphics.
Not
So I'll
not
let you get back to that. But
so
I thought it was an interesting just to let people know that things can most of the time just be run all on one PC. Back to you.
so we'll start here because this is always a good place to start, which is the end result. So what you're looking at right now is obviously I'm using the as we were talking about earlier, the virtual camera using OBS, and with OBS then I brought in Singular as a source in OBS, and I have this overlay package that I built displaying an RSS feed. So the mechanism behind this is pretty straightforward. Well, it's powerful. Let's start with that. So I'm going to jump back over to the actual composition. Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. Let's go to the Google Sheet that's feeding this RSS feed. So what I have here is a Google Sheet, and in the first cell, Google, as we were talking about earlier, Alex, is incredibly powerful. One of the things they have is a number of functions for bringing in data. This one is import feed. So I just have the import feed function, and I went and got the BBC's RSS feed for front page news. And then down here it goes into business. So down at this function, there's I just changed it to business and so forth, business, entertainment. So once I've got that, I've got a nice block of data, I'll say, rows and columns, and I need to get this over to the Singular composition. So we built a widget that pulls data from a Google Sheet. Now, you certainly can go the other direction. We've written scripts where you can push the data from the composition from the Google Sheet into the composition. And I'm going to be going into depth on those that 3-part series with Google Sheets and more advanced integration. But for the purposes of this, if we go back over to, here we are in Studio, where we see the graphic, and how I designed this one is all the graphics come on in one click, and I just call it RSS. So they just do a simple fade, they come on, they come off. And these are the parameters that I expose. Like I have time format for this clock up here, and I have a link to the actual Google Sheet, and that's the one I showed you previous. So to go over to the composition, I brought the Google Sheet widget into the composition. And again, this is a little bit more advanced. I have some in-depth videos that I did, a 2-part series already on this specifically, but I will be covering this again in the advanced deep dive of composition building. So you've got your spreadsheet ID right here. You're going to need that. That's right here in the middle of the URL. You've got the value range. I'm using a tab in that sheet called BBC. And you can see that here, down here at the bottom, called BBC.
Yep.
And then I've got the API key, which is something that each user is going to have to generate to use this widget. That's not something we can do for you. Now,
is that something you generate on Google?
It is. You do it in Google. Now, again, it's exposed here. Users can see this. You can reset this, so I'm not too worried about that today. But in any event, so what happens is functionally this widget is actually taking it's making data requests to that sheet based on this frequency. And you can see I've got it exposed here to a control node. I actually made it a control node, which is pretty straightforward. I simply, let's just show that one. I basically just click here and I say the Google Sheet update, call it whatever you want. and then it shows up here. This is what's going to show up in the studio, and this is the frequency by which this is every 300 milliseconds. It's going to make a request to the sheet to pull the data.
Got it.
Now the
So
sequence.
that's how you're bringing those RSS feeds in from Google Sheets to Singular.
I'm using the Google Sheet widget that we wrote that goes and makes a request to the Google Sheet and pulls it in. Now the actual sequencing is happening down here. The row sequencing, you can either set it to manual or advance every X seconds. I have it set to advance, and I tell it manually row one row at a time every 12 seconds. And the neat thing, if I go back over here to Studio, I can adjust the frequency. So if I knock this to 5 and I hit update, this is going to speed up. It should. I think it has to read through the entire list or the next message. I have to ask Thomas about this. Big shout out to Thomas.
5 seconds.
Yeah, Thomas did a wonderful job on this, and he and I have had a number of discussions with our R&D guys about the next reiteration of this widget. And I think what you're going to see, we've done a number of really nice implementations for customers on writing add-ons in Google Sheet itself, where you actually have an add-on and you can control this from an add-on. That gets it away from the API, having to generate an API key. You're pushing the data from the sheet versus pulling. There's a lot of advantages to that, on a number of different levels.
So this could really be used for anything, right? So it could be, again, we talked about comments earlier. People could be bringing comments into a Google Sheet and then pushing them to Singular. It could be leaderboards or something like that. It could be used for pretty much any data that you put in a Google Sheet.
Absolutely. We've done on the go back to the functions. That's how I'm getting the data. The data originates from the BBC's RSS feeds. That is that function is free. You just simply put it in there and it goes and gets the RSS. But I've done it with finance. They have the Google Finance function. I've done it with Google Import HTML, which is brings in HTML, different tables.
Mm-hmm.
I've pulled tables off of wiki sites, for example. So,
I mean, I'm just an example of one thing I did. I was able to tie in with if this then that. Have you heard of if this then that?
I don't think I have.
So it's an awesome service where it's like, if something happens, then trigger this. And you're able to tie multiple services together. So I had Twitter, and it was like, if this hashtag is used, grab this tweet and put it into a row on Google Sheets.
Awesome.
And then I had the Google Sheets widget in Singular, then pull that into a Singular. So it was awesome. There's lots you can do with that.
That's a great example. I did something not as elaborate, but I used a Google form. We had like a quiz, and then the results of the quiz from the form, I just pointed it to a Google Sheet, and once it landed in the Google Sheet, our widget is automatically grabbing it as it comes in. So I'm able to send questions out on a form, on a question, get the data and organize it and view it and sort of QC it in the sheet, and automatically make a nice graphic overlay in a production. It's really incredibly powerful. And
there's one more thing just before we finish that I'd love for you to show, because you sent me the link when we were on a call a while back and it blew my mind, and I totally haven't told you about doing this, so I don't know if you've got the link to hand, but it was the election one where the viewer could control the graphics their side. Because the other cool thing that Singular does is it can render graphics into the broadcast so that then you as the broadcaster push it out to YouTube or something like that. But it can also be an overlay on the viewer's side, so the viewer controls the graphics. So I'd love if you're able to demo that, because that blew my mind when I saw that.
Okay,
I think some people will enjoy that.
Okay, so let's go. Let's give that a shot. So I'm going to take a output of. Bear with me here. I have to jump around a little bit. I'm back over to OBS for a second. And what I'm going to do is simply change the source. I wasn't prepared to do this. I like these on the fly.
I just throw anything at you.
I love it. This is the way to do it.
If someone's going to come and do an interview with me, they got to expect to get a curveball or two.
Okay, so I did this is a proof of concept that we did for CBS, and they were really, really helpful in providing us with just a sample of data from the 2016 election. So this is from 2016. In the middle of the day, there was a big data set. Obviously, lots of data sets coming in constantly. And so what we did is we took the entire it comes in as a JSON format, and we took that entire data set and we just put it right into a composition. And Thomas jumped in, gave me a hand, and what we did is we basically are jumping around this Google sheet. So I need to show you the interactive part. That's where the fun stuff happens.
Yeah.
One moment here. Let's see if I can find. Again, you threw me for a curveball. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, not sorry
no,
about
no,
that.
no, no. I love it. This is where you say, hey, does this stuff really work? Okay. Actually, if we want to have a lot of fun, there's no reason we can't send this URL out to users if they want to try this.
To be fair, we could put it in the YouTube chat,
Let's do
and
it.
then people can try this on as we're doing it.
Okay, let me mute this. No, this is still muted. Let me play this. Okay, let me zoom out a couple times. Okay, 1 second here.
Yeah, as I say, for those of you that are watching, this is very much a curveball that I threw Stephen, and he hadn't had anything prepared for this one. It's just something he demoed to me a couple of months back, or maybe not that long actually, and I thought it was really cool.
Okay, so here we are with the same. Now this is what we tried to do in this graphic is this is an overlay that CBS did back in 2016, and it shows the election results. But it's fine in a linear fashion, like you're seeing. It is linear, if you will, in the stream, right? So it's not interactive. But if you click on the logo, for example, the overlay will come in and out. Now I'm clicking on this page, this website, and if I click on the state name, now it's quite large. This was originally, I had lined this up to work on a mobile to see if I could really pull this off on a mobile device. It worked quite well. So you can click the state name, and then you can say like California, for example, which is where I am right now. It'll pull in the results from California. So you get kind of the best of both worlds. So what we're seeing is sort of the linear stream where it's not interactive. Now, if I take this, Alex, and send this over to you.
Yes, if you still got Slack open, I'll put it in the chat.
All right, if you're telling me to open up Slack and really open up Pandora's box here now. Let me, let's see here. We've got...
So what you're seeing on the screen, guys, is imagine the video that you're seeing behind the graphics is a live stream or just a video, but then you as the viewer have full control of the graphics. So as you saw there, as you're viewing it, you can click on the name. So we're seeing Oklahoma at the moment. You can click on that and actually choose what state of the results that you want to see of, which just blew my mind. As a viewer, having control of the live graphics is so cool.
All right, Alex, see if you get that in your...
Yeah, let me see. And I'm going to put the link in the chat. Yep, I've got that now. So I'll put the link in the YouTube chat, and you guys can see exactly what I mean by this. There we go. So the link's in the YouTube chat now.
There you go. It's probably worth mentioning. So what's going on here in terms of the interactivity portion and the singular overlay is when I pause this video. So if I play it, you'll see the singular overlay gets turned on. This is a website, and inside this website we have I think I built this in Webflow, if I'm not mistaken. This is like a quick rapid demo site that I use. So when I pause this, you see behind us, this is just an embedded YouTube clip inside of our player. And so when I play it, right, the YouTube embedded, the interactivity in the embedded YouTube clip go away, and now you have those elements that are interactive in singular. Because without that, it makes it very difficult. Like what should be what's is it the dog wagging the tail or vice versa? Who gets the interactivity, if you will? So in this case, when you hit play, our interactivity, we are essentially in this example, singular is an iframe inside of our player, and it's sitting in the top layer so that you can get to these interactive elements. In this case, the ability to change the all kinds of examples of this. Again, you pause it, you get the interactive element.
But this could work with a live stream as well, right? So it doesn't just have to be a video. It could be a live stream in your player, and then the singular overlay goes over the top for the viewer. Because I think I've seen you do it with Red Bull, and they used like polls. So they had polls where the graphic would appear on screen, and the viewer would be able to click on the video to answer the poll question.
Yes, we did a project with Red Bull in which they were doing, it was full client-side rendering, so that the individual clients have the ability to interact with the overlays. And that was very successful, worked great. We did another project, much more elaborate, with the Ineos challenge that took place. I believe it was, I can't remember exactly when, last year, where that was the marathon that was run under 2 minutes. So that was a fully interactive experience, and it was adaptive as well. So we had in Singular, when you're in the composer side, you can build adaptive overlays so that they are, say, for a touch versus non-touch device, or aspect ratio. Do you want it portrait, landscape? And you do that all for within one composition. And then depending on the device, you get the correct aspect ratio, what have you. So definitely more advanced types of things, but not impossible. We have basic interactivity stuff is kind of built in, and then if you want to get more advanced stuff, we have a full Java scripting inside the compositions. So
yeah, I mean, as I say, I can talk about this for ages because I love. I've used Singular for about 2 or so years now across a various number of projects. And every time I build something for a new project, I find something new that it can do, and I go down that rabbit hole. So yeah, I get lost in that world. There's so much that you can do with it, but it's really impressive.
Just real quick, Alex. Thomas jumped in with one of our with a link to the Ineos challenge, a link to the
interactive element for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the Ineos one.
Okay, I haven't seen that, but I will paste the link and trust you guys. I'll paste it in the YouTube chat. Is Thomas okay for me to do that?
Yes. Go ahead and paste that in.
So again, if you're watching this, there's a second link coming in the YouTube chat, and I've never clicked on it, so I don't know what it does, but it should show you some more interactivity. Client side, I believe, right?
Exactly, I believe. Let's see which link he sent.
It's dangerous. It's gone in the chat now.
Oh, he said use full screen mode. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video, and then the Singular is embedded over the top. Nice. Yeah. I completely forgot what I was about to say there, but yeah, no, thank you, Stephen, so much for taking us through that. As I say, I put out this first Singular video about 3 weeks ago, and there were so many questions coming in. But looking at the chat now, a lot of people liked that client side or the viewer side rendering, which is cool. Simon says that's so cool. But yeah, lots of, just trying to see if I've missed any other questions before I let you go.
That client-side rendering, I will tell you that, I just put the RSS feedback on here. The client-side rendering is, that's honestly, that's really where the compass is going. I mean, when you get into client-side rendering, you have a whole nother level of customization and really personalization. It's the most rewarding and challenging, to be quite honest with you, projects that we undertake at Singular and our customers as well. So, but it's absolutely amazing. When you think of the 3 components that make up great content, it's video and audio and overlays, graphic overlays. And for so long, it's been this passive, spoon-fed to you experience, and that's just not something we want to see happen with Singular. So the tool is deep. I always give a hat tip to the R&D guys. It's an amazing platform, very stable, rock solid, scalable, and completely cloud-based. So, we take the hits. Oh, it's cloud. It's this. It's that. It's where this is going. It's not where it's going. It's where it is now, and it just keeps increasing, which is. I gotta check. What's that site you mentioned? What's the this or the Boolean one?
If this then that.
Oh,
it's awesome. So it basically allows you to connect services like even smart home apps. So you can say, if this person tweets, then turn on a light bulb. There's loads of stuff that you can do. It's great.
I'm all over that today.
Yeah, honestly, cool. You'll lose so many hours with it. So many hours. I just want to answer one question before we get going.
Sure.
So this one is from, hold on, my eyesight is going. Are you using OBS to bring in Stephen, or are you using another camera source? I'll have a full video about how to bring people in remotely coming out soon. But yeah, I'm actually using my A10 Mini Pro to mix this. So I've got it on my desk, and Stephen is coming in on camera number 3. I'm coming in on camera number 2. And then we got the Singular graphics that you can see here, which to bring in questions on source number 1. And then I'm live streaming out from the A10 Mini Pro via the Ethernet there. So that's how I'm doing today's broadcast.
Are you using
Tim just wants to ask.
Oh yes, sorry. I was going to say, are you using the deck link to switch between overlays?
No, I've only got one overlay URL going in, so I don't need too many. But more of a question for you just to finish up. Tim asks, could that technique be used for interactive live polls? I think he's talking about the client-side rendering.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. We don't have a complete sort of application built for doing the pollings, but the one I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned earlier, where I was doing a form, a Google form, and just a series of questions, and then the results of those from the form going back over to a sheet, and then the results going back into the stream. And once they're into the stream, could they be interactive? Absolutely. Your challenge is, if you're streaming it into where you're streaming it to, where's your destination on the interactive side. So you have to have a player that's going to be doing interactivity. So yeah, the long-winded answer. I'll cover that in that I mentioned that 3-part series, and there will be some announcements shortly on when we're going to be doing those. They're coming soon. I hope I think maybe Friday I'll do my first one, the deep dive into Composer, and we'll take lots of questions and we can go down those interactive rabbit holes. I can loop in Thomas if it gets into advanced scripting. Many of the examples there, and it's I'm excited to share more in-depth stuff because we get a lot of questions. We get a lot of questions on more advanced stuff. The marketplace is great. It'll get your feet wet. It'll get you started. And a lot of users are fine with it. But the really custom stuff, when you want beautiful productions, the bottom line is you got to get in there and get your feet wet and make those compositions. And it's not overwhelming. It's a fractionally as deep as many other offerings, I should say.
Yeah, exactly.
Complicated.
Well, just to end up, for those of you that have watched and found this useful, please do hit the like button. The other thing, of course, is if you haven't yet signed up to Singular, now is the time to do it because you can get 1 month free, which means you get the full unwatermarked pro version. Just use promo code ALEX1 and you just go to singular.live and click the login button at the top, and then there'll be a sign up link on there.
Yeah.
And just put that promo code in, and then, you get 1 month free, but that is expiring not too long, so make sure you sign up and use that now before that code goes.
We might have to extend that one a little bit because we've been getting.
Hey, you've said it on a stream now.
I know. I can hear them. I can hear the rest of the team going, "What's he doing in there? He's gone rogue. He's gone out the deep end." But yeah, we got great response on that. And again, when you do get in there and you land on the dashboard, apologies from the whole team on that user guided experience from that dashboard to actually getting some value. So there might be some frustration there. Please use the support channel, use the beginner's guide. We actually did a stream last week where we talked about that and did those step-by-step of how you get from go to the marketplace, download your composition, right click, open in Studio, and now you're in those overlays. So once you connect those dots between composition, Studio, output, it starts unfolding very quickly. So but definitely use the support and the YouTube channel. I think we posted, it's on our YouTube channel, and more to come.
Yeah, it's worth checking out the Singular YouTube channel because there's loads of demos and explainers on there already. And then, as Stephen said, there's more live streams and more videos going up as well. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me in today's live broadcast. I don't often do sort of live interviews, but it made perfect sense, especially with the demo section. So thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me. It's been great, and I appreciate the forum and all of your users who have signed up to this point have been just great with really good pertinent questions. So thanks again. Good seeing you.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are new, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell so then you don't miss future live streams like this and all my videos that I upload weekly. But for now, that is all, and I'll see you on the next live stream.